Election day in the United States of America. In numerous states, Kentucky, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, to name a few, and we are getting ready to rumble.
Holy Toledo.
Philly, go out and vote. Georgia, go out and vote. Kentucky, go out and vote. Charles Booker, but also maybe Thomas Massie. I don't know. You know. Holy Toledo, folks. I'm going to go pee real quick while this plays.
Quite a few states right now, polls are open. In Georgia, Alabama, Pennsylvania, and Kentucky, a race with huge stakes and major amounts of money poured into it. President Trump has been putting in the work to unseat Republican incumbent Thomas Massie. The congressman has clashed with Trump White House over several key issues and pushed for the release of the Epstein files. We have reporters on the ground following these key races today. Jeff Zellenby is in Covington, Kentucky, and Danny Freeman is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. First to you, Jeff. So far, things have been open for a bit here, a couple hours plus. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Hey, Sarah, good morning. Yes, voters here have been voting since 6 a.m. here in northern Kentucky, a steady stream of voters. And certainly we have talked to those who are supporting Thomas Massie. They said that they actually like how he stands up to President Trump. And we've talked to voters who are supporting his opponent, Ed Gallrein, saying that it's time for President Trump to have his own Republican congressman in office. So we will see how this voting goes. But it's really reflective of this very tight race here. President Trump, I'm told by his advisors, has been fixated on this contest. He, of course, has been trying to unseat Thomas Massie for more than a year or so. Well, last night we caught up with the congressman to ask him about the nationalization of this race. This race has been nationalized, as you well know, talking about the revenge tour and the revenge list. Do you think that that's how voters here in Kentucky see this race?
I don't think so. They don't know what happened to Bill Cassidy or to those senators in Indiana. And both of those situations are unique from mine. Bill Cassidy voted to impeach the president. That's something I've never done and I would never do. And his constituents were mad about that, right?
God, I fucking love Thomas Massie so much. He is such a freak, dude. What a rare bird he is. He's like, I'm so much more MAGA than Bill Cassidy. I would never vote to impeach Donald Trump. It's awesome. It's awesome. He's so awesome. Libertarian final boss? Absolutely. Yes. Thomas Maserati, baby. Hello. Okay, don't go in there. Don't go in there. You know not to go in there. Oh my God. You American fuckers love nationalizing your elections, but not your healthcare services. I mean, we don't even have any fucking healthcare services. Let's be real. We're talking about Kentucky. All right, bro, chill out. Jesus Christ. What the fuck? Stop having a fucking medical incident in the chat. Jesus Christ. He's like, oh, how do you unlock collective consciousness, chat? Blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up.
I'm still with my constituents, in spite of the billionaires spending millions of dollars to convince them I'm not. I think most of my constituents know that because I've been at this 14 years. I haven't changed at all.
So that, of course, is an interesting point there. Congressman Massie has long been opposed to spending bills. He's long been a bit of a contrarian. The Republican Party has changed dramatically during this time, of course, during the Donald Trump presidency. But this is one of the most, if not the most expensive House primaries ever. More than $30 million spent. I'm on the race here and talking to voters. There's a sense of exhaustion as well. But, Sarah, this is
now officially the most expensive primary race in the history of the United States of America. Number 2 and number 3 were Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. Now, what's the connective tissue there? Why? Why is the number 1 most expensive primary race in the history of the United States of America and the number 2 of American elections. What could it be? What is the thing that connects Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, two Democrats, and Thomas fucking Massie? That's right. It's Israel. It's just broad fucking daylight. They are literally subverting the democratic process. A foreign lobby for a foreign state, the number one ally of the United States of America, okay? Small nation, tiny nation, size of New Jersey, surrounded by scary Muslims. That's what it is. No politics here. Do not say Israel is buying seats. How dare you? How dare you say Israel buying seats?
An important point to keep in mind, this is a closed primary. That means only Republicans can vote in this primary. We've talked to several Democratic voters here who said they would have liked to have supported Congressman Massie, but he was not on their ballot. So that is something to keep in mind as we go through the day here. Only registered Republicans can vote in this congressional primary, but a very close one that the White House is keeping a very close eye on, Sarah.
Yes, I think you're reporting spot on, especially when people are exhausted. I talked to one Kentucky voter who was like, I just want this to be over at this point, but it will happen today. Thank you so much, Jeff. Let's go now to Danny. Governor Josh Shapiro looking to leave his mark, of course, on Pennsylvania.
What is this? Genuinely, you should check your login location history on your Google account. What, you think my Google account got boomed? And that's why I'm getting, that's why I just like auto swap to Arabic translation. Is that what you think is going on? You think I got hacked? Maybe.
Politics with the win today, but he's also trying to, as Donald Trump is, kind of put his finger on the scale, although Trump is doing it for revenge. What are you learning here?
Yeah, that's right, Sarah. There are two real big storylines happening in Pennsylvania today. One is some of these swing districts that really the control of the House of Representatives come November could flow through here. And then the other is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's influence on all of that. Let me start with why we're in Allentown in this specific district. It's a district you all will become very familiar with, the 7th Congressional District here in Pennsylvania. It is a swingy district. A Republican, Ryan McKenzie, he won it alongside President Donald Trump.
We're all in on Bob Brooks, real union guy. Bob Brooks is a very interesting candidate because he's been able to combine the forces of Josh Shapiro and also Bernard Sanders. Bro, you just emailed me, dog. Scuba. Okay.
During his victory just a few years ago.
My man looks like he's right out of Paw Stars. He's awesome. Meanwhile, Haaretz literally confirms that the Kentucky primary is for Israel. The most consequential Republican primary for Israel is happening in Kentucky. At some point, we got to be like, this is a little fucked up, no? What will it take? What will it take, folks? When will Americans wake the fuck up to what's going on? I mean, this is totally ridiculous. It is totally ridiculous. It's happening in broad daylight. It's almost as perverse. It's almost as perverse and as ridiculous as Donald Trump taking $1.7 billion of taxpayer revenue from the IRS to spend however he sees fit. Okay? We're there. It's happening in broad fucking daylight. It's highway robbery, and people are just sleepwalking. Donald Trump doing, 58 trades a day since the beginning of 2026. How did that happen? People who got real mad about Nancy and Paul Pelosi, myself included, I was mad about that too, and you should be mad about that. It's perfectly valid to be upset that, congresspersons are trading on non-publicly available information, and yet no such consideration is given to the president when he's doing it in broad daylight. What are we doing? What's going on? Actually, not to get all Tucker Carlson here, but what the fuck's going on? We're not a country. We're not. If you allow foreign lobbies to buy and sell seats like this without any pushback whatsoever, you can't be a country. You're not. We're not a country. The United States of America is no longer a country. It's just a holdover state for corporate interests. Corporate interests that can come in and buy elections, foreign lobbies that can come in and buy elections. It's basically now, an Israeli-owned casino. Shout out Miriam Adelson. It's ridiculous.
And now Democrats are trying to take it back. And that's really the marquee race on the ballot here, is which Democrat is going to step up and try and unseat this Republican incumbent. The Democrats are Bob Brooks, Ryan Crosswell, Lamont McClure, and Carol Obando DeStern. And the key thing here is that one of those candidates, although it's really a toss-up at this point, one of those candidates has gotten the endorsement of Governor Josh Shapiro. You see plenty of ads here in Pennsylvania as well. Bob Brooks is that candidate. He's a firefighter in this area, and you cannot see an ad without him and also Governor Josh Shapiro. That influence by the popular Democratic governor in the state really is on display here. So those are the two storylines that we're going to be watching if that candidate, Shapiro's chosen candidate, really can end up running up the scoreboard here. But meanwhile, Sarah, when it comes to the voters here, they're really still laser focused on just those issues of affordability. I want you to listen to one voter I spoke with who's a small business owner here in Allentown, and she's thinking about how hard it is for her young staff.
I think when you look at how expensive everything is for them just to even get started, I feel a sense of responsibility to provide not just a great place to work, but a great place to make a living. And that is a real challenge right now, to watch young people want to build a future that they're unsure of.
And does it feel like DC is helping that right now?
No, not at all.
You can hear right there, Sarah, that voter Stephanie. She's out here voting because things are really expensive and hard. I passed by a gas station here in Allentown, $4.89 a gallon. Those are the issues that are really bringing voters.
If Massie loses, do you think it has enough of an impact to disillusion some people? No, it means that people are totally in a drunken stupor. If Thomas Massie wins today, that's a huge fucking blow. That means no amount of moneyed interest, no amount of cultish thinking that is in the core of the Republican Party, that's like anchoring the entire base at this point, is enough to unseat someone who's actually, fought for his own moral convictions and said, I'm not gonna compromise on my values. If Israel and Trump in unison wins here, which, by the way, is not unexpected, okay? It shows something about the state of Republicans. And no, not independents, state of Republicans. Because we're talking about the Republican primary. I believe it's a closed primary in Kentucky. It says that the base is completely a cult, 100% a cult. Okay? It's just totally a cult. It's not necessarily a bad thing from our perspective. In some ways, it's terrifying how cultish it is. But it's a cult that is getting smaller and smaller. So from that perspective, I think it's beatable. One example I will use is the Ken Paxton endorsement, right? In Texas, Ken Paxton is a polarizing figure, not just for the Democrats, but amongst Republicans as well. But he's full MAGA. And Donald Trump endorsed Ken Paxton today. Ken Paxton actually performs worse against James Tallarico than Cornyn, right? And now that Donald Trump is boosting Ken Paxton, this actually improves James Tallarico's chances. So you will see potential flips in areas that we never thought were possible to flip because of the way that Trump is moving. Trump is very clearly mustering up all the fucking forces. Okay? He's saying, this is my party. It doesn't matter. I care about ideological loyalty. I care about loyalty to me more than anything else. I don't care about the performance of the party at all. I only care about making sure that my guys are winning. You know how the Democrats have done a similar thing for, maintaining the corporate control over the party? Something that caused them to lose over and over again. Something that might even cause them to lose. Win, right? That's what Trump is doing, but for himself. This is how you lose. This is how you lose. This is how you lose elections that you could possibly win. When there is unilateral control over the future of the party in the hands of one fucking egomaniacal madman, or a national party that chooses to defend corporate interests, even when the warning signs are right there. For the Democratic Party, they lost the election because they refused to lean into the demands being made by the masses as far as more bold, more radical changes in the economy that would help the working class, or their unbelievable loyalty to the nation state of Israel as it was engaging in heinous war crimes and doing a genocide. That loyalty caused people to stay at home. That loyalty is the reason why people didn't vote for the Democratic Party and Trump won. But don't both parties support corporate interests? Yes, they do. But it doesn't matter. Trump is also a defender of corporate interests. I mean, look at how he runs around and talks about the fucking stock market. That's the only thing that he seemingly cares about. So, yeah. Yeah, I said Chuan Jingao for the Democrats, Trump the nation builder. Breaking, Trump endorses Ken Paxton in the Texas Senate race. Trump the nation builder.
Out here, but again, keep your eye on the 7th congressional district in Pennsylvania. It could be incredibly important when it comes to control of the House come November.
A lot is at stake for a lot of people. Thank you to you, Danny Freeman, and also to our Jeff Selney. Appreciate it. In Georgia, a crowded field of Republicans are running for the chance to unseat Democratic incumbent Senator Jon Ossoff. Georgia voters are also casting ballots in the race to replace Republican Governor Brian Kemp. That field includes some really high-profile names: former Republican Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, who is now running on the Democratic ticket, and former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. CNN's Ryan Young is live on the ground in Ackworth, Georgia. Ryan, look, there are seats on Georgia Supreme Court that are also on the ballot today. There is a slew of things to bring out voters. What are you seeing?
Oh, there's a slew of options here for people to talk about. And of course, I felt all that energy from Harry a little early this morning. But so far, you can see Georgia voters are really paying attention to this vote. More than 1 million of them have already cast their ballots already in early voting, that close on Friday. Today, it's been steady at polling locations throughout the state. Just talking to some of the folks who've walked past me, some of them have said, look, they are here because they want to make sure that they see some of the policies they want to see in terms of economics move forward. But this has been a nasty race when you talk about the governor's race. In fact, look at some of the ads that have been hitting the airways over the last 60 days or so.
Creepy Rick Jackson and Big Baby Burt Jones are too busy slinging mud at each other to care about you.
In politics, some makeovers are only skin deep. Meet Rick Jackson. Before the primary, he made a few changes. A new look, a new story.
We're incredibly grateful for his leadership and his friendship and his knowledge. Thank you again, Rick, for all that you do for Georgia.
When you see Bert's new attack ads, remember, he doesn't believe them either.
Yes, Sarah, people across the country may not know this. We have a very popular governor here in the state, and he's actually stepping to the side. Now it's Burt Jones versus Rick Jackson. Those two have been locked in the battle that's really locked up the...
Are all American political ads like these? Yes, there has been a significant devolution, significant regression as far as you know, every facet of American existence. And certainly the utilization of AI in campaign ads was an expected move in the wrong direction. Yes, there is a degradation of public discourse, no consensus reality. We're unbelievably fucked.
Airways, when it comes to commercials, people are sort of out there casting the vote to see who the next governor could be on that Republican side. And then, of course, you talked about the Democratic race in terms of the governor. You have Keisha Lance Bottoms, who in all the polls seems to be leading. Of course, there's a lot of conversation about what's going to happen under her because, of course, whoever doesn't get that 50% vote that they need could have a runoff, which happens next month. I will tell you, though, the people here have been energized about this vote. We've seen a lot of folks show up early in other polling centers, and I've actually talked to a few other reporters. They've seen a steady path of people who are casting their ballots pretty early this morning. It should be interesting to watch throughout the day. Sarah?
Yeah, two things. You hit the nail on the head. Economics is big in people's minds. But when you said that it was dirty, I didn't realize it was actual mudslinging,
Gas
like
prices.
Real mud. I'm like, oh.
Full-fledged mudslinging. And then, of course, on top of that, you have these AI ads that are really got on television and people are watching these. The conversation really has been about who's going to move forward. The president has said that he wants Burt Jones to be the next governor of this state. It'd be interesting to see how this plays out when it gets in this tight political race.
Bill Cassidy in Louisiana lost his primary. He famously voted to convict President Trump in his second impeachment. Thomas Massie now is going up against Gal Ryan here. What do you make of this race, and what does Cassidy's loss, could that mean anything for Massie?
Yeah, look, what is the overarching theme here? And that is Donald Trump may have problems with the center of the electorate in American politics, but among Republicans, he is still king. He is still very, very popular. You mess with Trump, you go in the grinder. I mean, you can see that in his overall approval rating with Republicans, right? It's somewhere 82, 83% on average. That is higher at this point in a second term than either Barack Obama was with Democrats back in 2014, and certainly way higher than George W. Bush was at this point with Republicans back in 2006. I'll note Grinder, by the way, going in the grinder. That's a quote from Good Burger. I love that movie. But what is, what's so important here is what happened in Louisiana. Will that necessarily hold in Kentucky? Maybe, maybe not. But Bill Cassidy's performance on Saturday night, I went back through all the spreadsheets that I possibly could, looking at every single primary that an incumbent senator had just after World War II, back in 1946. Bill Cassidy's 25% was the weakest performance of any incumbent senator in a primary. Again, I don't think.
Yeah, Trump is God. Okay, for MAGA, which is the entirety of the Republican Party, Donald Trump is God. He is no longer just like a political figure. He is a deity. Okay, you have to look at current modern day Republican voters as a cult. That's it. I genuinely think at this point, if Donald Trump turned around and said that he is a communist, we could have a communist party in this country. That is the level of influence Donald Trump has over his base. Okay, Donald Trump tomorrow could be like, I am a communist. I love communism. It's Trumplander. Yes. The Republican Party is completely at the mercy of Donald Trump. Okay? Bill Cassidy's a fucking demon. Yes, I hate Bill Cassidy. I don't give a shit about Bill Cassidy. But the reality of the matter is, seemingly, Republicans don't give a shit about Bill Cassidy either. Okay? They will drop any and every person that they have consistently voted for. That's why the Kentucky race is important. The Kentucky primary for Thomas Massie is unbelievably important. It's unbelievably important because Thomas Massie is not even like Bill Cassidy, right? Bill Cassidy has had his woke moments, which Republicans love punishing regardless. Thomas Massie is not woke at all. Thomas Massie is 90% of the way with Donald Trump. Thomas Massie is more MAGA than Trump is. Okay? So at this point, is MAGA a definable set of opinions and ideology and policies? Or is MAGA just whatever Donald Trump likes? Okay? And whatever Donald Trump hates is no longer MAGA. That's the question taking shape within the Republican Party primaries in Kentucky. Okay? I personally believe it's a cult. This is an important moment, because if Thomas Massie wins, that means that there is actually a fissure within the base of MAGA, where there are at least enough Republicans that are capable of looking at individual policies and saying, look, I love Trump. I love Massie. Massie did great with the Epstein stuff. He did great with Israel. I agree with him. At least for that district in Kentucky, we can figure out whether or not there is anything redeemable about the Republican Party, or not necessarily redeemable, but is there something salvageable? Because if there is a real fissure there, if Thomas Massie wins the primaries, that means there is at least a fissure that can be exploited. Okay? If Thomas Massie loses the primaries, it's fucking over. There's no better indication. I mean, that paired up with Bill Cassidy, paired up with all the other things that have taken place, it's done. Israel and Donald Trump can just, at least on the Republican side, destroy the candidacy, destroy the legacy and the impact of any Republican, no matter how loyal they are. Okay? That's what we're going to find out today. I hope Thomas Massie wins, because that means I hope Thomas Massie wins, because if Thomas Massie wins, that means that there is a deep fissure within the base where, for the first time ever, maybe regardless of their cultish attitude, regardless of their dear leader praise, there are certain things that the base of support within MAGA still sees and can make individual changes on. That means that there is there is a little bit of hope to lean into that deep fissure, right? Not that it matters, for the record, because even if Thomas Massie loses, MAGA is fully established as a cult. However, even if it's fully established as a cult, it's still defeatable. Okay? It's up to the Democrats to actually defeat them. Why are we hoping for hogs to be less hog-like? Fuck them. No. You're misunderstanding. That means you can snap some of these hogs out of their drunken stupor. That's what I mean.
Even if Thomas Massie loses tomorrow, he'll do that poorly. But that shows you, along with Trump's popularity within the Republican ranks, what type of wave.
It's always better if Trump's base is not at 37%, but at like 30%. Do you understand? That's why I'm saying I'm hoping for a Massie win in the Republican primaries here, because that means there is a chance that the bottom is not firmly established at like 35%, but maybe sub 30%. That's huge. The smaller the Trump train is, the smaller the Trump cult is, the easier it is to defeat them, especially considering how unbelievably fucking weak the Democratic Party is. Okay? The Democrats are weak. They're feckless. They're refusing to fight. Or when they do want to fight, they only want to fight against people like ourselves. People on their left flank. They're not ready to fucking fight against fascism. They don't even want to admit that fascism is here in this country. Okay? It's that simple. Can I be controversial? Is there anything you think Trump has done right that warrants credit? Yes, of course. I've been very clear on this. What do you mean? Like what he did in China in the Beijing summit, I glazed the shit out of it. I think it's the appropriate, it is weirdly sober analysis, unexpected from Donald Trump. I thought he was going to continue warmongering, continue his China hawkery, but Donald Trump sometimes will cut away from the established uniparty blob mentality when it comes to certain aspects of foreign policy, right? Now, this can be dangerous and damaging. He'll lean into some of the worst some of the worst aspects and some of the worst ambitions of foundations for defending democracy, like pro-Israeli think tanks when it comes to dealing with Iran. Massive defeat, right? And has been horrible. It's a spectacular quagmire that Donald Trump forced the United States into, and it was totally avoidable, right? Iran was absolutely ready to negotiate. They made that very clear. They actually leaned into American demands, like maximalist demands. Donald Trump could have gotten a better deal than the JCPOA from the American perspective, from the American side, and he didn't do that, right? He didn't do that because he was, he was being used like a flesh puppet by Israel. Terrible. In China, on the other hand, there are plenty of think tanks that want to wage war against China, continue sending even more and more weapons to Taiwan, really expand on that, really exhaust those tensions, right? Like really foment tension between Chinese Taipei and Taiwan and mainland China, right? Donald Trump's not doing that, though, because in a weird way, he does actually respect power and recognizes that when he tries to wage war, like the tariff war that he tried to wage against China, and he fails, he's like, oh, shit, China had hands. I need to be a little bit more restrained. So that's good. That's something that I've totally given Trump credit for.
That Thomas Massie has to fight against to win tomorrow.
Bill Cassidy's performance was the worst since World War II.
For any incumbent senator of either party.
I think Massie sort of represents what I would call whatever the oppositional energy is left in the Republican Party, meaning people, he feels like he can say no to things. And Trump has been found to be able to primary the people he does not like when you look at what happened with the Republicans in Indiana. Do you think that people who stand up to Trump the way he does so specifically can survive primaries?
Well, we'll find out today. And I think that what most Republicans I talk to are frustrated by is when we had the big, beautiful bill, for example, when we cut taxes on overtime, tips, Social Security, the common sense measures we put into place to secure the border, Thomas Massie voted no. It was the fundamental reason what gave us the opportunity to win in 2024, and he has chosen to go to his own path, and today is decision day.
Has he burned every bridge the way somebody implied
I think
here?
a lot of members see that he is looking out for Thomas Massie, as opposed to what the agenda is for the Republican Party. And today's decision day, we'll have to see what happens. We saw what happened last weekend in Louisiana. We'll have to see what happens tonight in Kentucky.
The biggest weakness that Massie has, along with everyone else that identifies this way in Congress, is that they're libertarians. Libertarians are inherently independent-minded. They support rugged individualism over the rest of the team, and it's not very practical. I think that I really do like, though, the lady that was...
Trump came back on Twitter just to shit on Thomas Massie. That's crazy, bro. Horrible Congressman Thomas Massie put out an old endorsement from many years ago of him by me long before I found out that he was the worst congressman in the history of our country. I endorsed Ed Galbraith, a true American patriot, with which Massie knows full well. So the statement that he put out is fraudulent, just like he is fraudulent. Withdraw your fake statement, Massie, right now, President Donald J. Trump. He's so mad. He's such a fucking cuck to Israel. Oh my God. Where's that one chatter who asked me if there's anything redeemable about Trump that I gave him actually a decent answer on? I wonder how he feels about Donald Trump being an insane cuck to Miriam Adelson and Israel. Sign me in. What is Google sign in? What?
Working in the kitchen who's saying, well, I'm going to vote however I want. That's
why
so
I asked,
American.
because there are certain states, New Hampshire, et cetera, are places where people are like, we don't want to be bossed around. We thought that about Indiana, and then 5 of the 7 Indiana Republicans that said no to redistricting are out of a job.
Well, and that's why Trump has already won. Even if Thomas Massie actually wins and pulls this out tonight, the message has been sent. You cross the president, there is going to be a huge political cost. And even if you do survive the primary, I mean, Thomas Massie is now fighting for his political life just as a result of that. And the message has been sent, and you're going to see Republicans stay in line at least through the midterms.
It's a very expensive message. This is the most expensive primary in history so far, $35 million as of Monday. There are a lot of donors also from AIPAC, from the Republican Jewish Coalition, because of Massie's comments on the war in Iran. And I did wonder, with Hegseth there, with the military base there, is this also a little bit of a proxy for that conversation?
It absolutely is. And 35 million is not even getting past the surface. If you look at what happened in Louisiana with $50 million, if you look in Texas with $150 million, this is what's great for a Democratic strategist, is none of that money was spent beating up Democrats. That was money beating up Republicans, each other, saying why they suck. They what about us? And so we like to sit back and watch that just happen.
Glad
but
you're
I'll also
weighing
say
in with
this.
that.
Wait, let me finish.
Yeah.
I'll also say that Donald Trump is still very popular in one little piece of the American electorate, and that is these Republican primaries. To your point, Alex, is like, love him or hate him, I've always given Donald Trump credit for being a good tactician when it comes to politics, but he is very popular in the Democratic primary. And again, boys and girls at home, in a Democratic primary, just a little bit of voters make a decision for the entire congressional district, because most of these guys, Democrat or Republican, are in very safe seats to where those primary voters determine who will be your congressman.
In the meantime, do you think that Pete Hegseth should be campaigning for anyone right now?
Well, it's common things where cabinet members campaign. There's no doubt about it.
Not defense secretaries during a war.
Well,
unless I miss Rumsfeld hanging out in the midterms.
No, I mean, this is a reality of politics today. He's out there aggressively pushing for the president's person.
Reality meaning no one is immune from the requirements of having to go onto the ground, no matter what your gig is.
Well, I think this is politics. Welcome to it. And talking about money, this is almost as much money as the Democrats burned in Virginia doing a bad idea on reapportionment. But that said, I think that Thomas Massie will have his day in court today, and we'll see the verdict. And I'm interested to see it just like everyone else.
I do think it's interesting, though, when you see the defense secretary there in a time of war, and when you look specifically.
Dude, yeah. You can't write a funnier situation, okay? Donald Trump, at the behest of Israel, is waging war with Iran, and the fucking defense secretary, in the midst of that battle that he's in, is going out there to unseat a fucking Republican congressperson who's against this war, which, by the way, so are many of the fucking voters. Like, it's hilarious. It's awesome. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I can't believe I'm agreeing with this animal, but I saw, it wasn't Laura Ingraham, it was fucking Ann Coulter make a statement about this where I was like, she's right. Ann Coulter was literally chirping about this, where she was like, what are we fucking doing here? Like, what's going on? What's happening? Where is it? Let me see if I can find the actual statement. Yeah, only 43% of Republican supporters think the Iran war will be worth the cost. Only 55% want the next GOP president to follow Trump's lead, but 80% approve of Trump's job performance on immigration. That's his highest number. She's saying, get back to the basics, be racist. Where is it? Where the fuck's the statement? Yeah, the war with Iran is existential. I can't believe I liked an Ann Coulter tweet so I could bring it up on stream. The war with Iran is existential. Iran could bomb a U.S. city. Americans must impoverish themselves to stop Iran from getting a nuke. A civilization will die tonight. Man in charge of the war, excuse me, I need to fly to a small Kentucky county to campaign against a Republican House member. Yeah, this is real America First in action right here, okay? Straight up. That's America First? That's your fucking movement, dude? I can't see a more Israel first moment for America first than this right here. Yeah, I feel dirty liking it. I'm unliking it now that I'm done looking at this fucking tweet.
Well, outstanding. It's wonderful to be here with all of you.
God, the audio is so busted. I wish so bad that Bibi himself would have come and done a speaking engagement. Yeah, I mean, obviously they won't go to that level because let's be real, if they were to bring Benjamin Netanyahu there, then people would maybe wake up. But I don't even know anymore. I can see Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu fucking traveling around Kentucky stumping for Ed Galrain. And Kentuckians still being like, hell yeah, brother, that's right. United States of Israel. Am Israel high, sir. I love Israel. I want to make sure we spend all of our fucking tax dollars on Israel, baby. No, do not fix the potholes in Kentucky. Don't fix the infrastructure in Kentucky. Okay? I don't need a hospital in a 50-mile radius. Excuse me, sir. Does it seem like I need a hospital in a 50-mile radius, sir? I'm not an anti-Semite. This is what I care about. Donald Trump told me it's anti-Semitic. No, thank you, I say. Am Israel high?
Specifically at this race, how it could also be a litmus test for just how high frustration is when it comes to the war in Iran and the ramification of higher gas prices. We talk about foreign policy a lot, and the American people can be frustrated with different foreign policy decisions, but it doesn't always actually equate to being a primary factor when it comes to electoral races. Now, this could be different. My colleague was in Kentucky recently, Jenny Medina, and she did reporting there and found that a lot of people had that gas price on their mind, had the initial America First promise on their mind, not to get involved in some of these prolonged conflicts. I know the administration likes to say that this is
It's primary day in multiple states, and one race in particular.
Michael Hastings fan. Hasanabi shush. Don't tell chat. I just voted my closed GOP primary. Illegally. That's right. What do you mean? This is Hank Pecker coming to you right now live from Kentucky, okay? We are a bunch of goddamn patriots. And guess what? We are saying America first. And that's why we're all voting for Thomas Massie illegally and legally. Voting hard. Get the hat or shut your filthy mouth. Oh, goddamn. Don't make me put the hat on. I feel it in my plums every time I vote in my closed GOP primary when I wear my apolitical hat. Feel it down in my bones. The patriotism. After all, I got to vote illegally because there's the illegals are voting. Guatemalans. 10 million Guatemalans voting for Israel. That's right. Let's get back to the story about Representative Massie facing a Trump-backed primary challenge.
Is drawing a whole lot of attention. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky is a frequent critic of President Trump, and now he is literally fighting for his political life because of big money donations from the president's wealthiest allies. Ed O'Keefe is following all of this in Kentucky. Ed, good morning to you. The poll numbers do not look good for Mr. Massie this morning.
Gail, good to see you. You know, after recent wins over fellow Republicans he considers his enemies in Indiana and Louisiana, Kentucky now is the latest stop on the president's political retribution tour. And as you mentioned, because of big spending by big outside groups, this is now the most expensive House primary in American history.
Massie's the worst congressman in the history of our country.
President Trump on Monday from the Oval Office, once again denouncing Republican Congressman Thomas Massie.
Always voting against Republicans and good values. So get rid of Thomas Massie.
The president and Massie have sparred for years on policy, but most recently on two things especially sensitive to Trump: the Jeffrey Epstein investigation and the war with Iran.
He's tweeted probably, 8 or 10 times in the last 72 hours. He's literally losing sleep over this race because he's in with both feet.
In a sign of how much the White House wants Massie gone, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth traveled to northern Kentucky Monday to support the congressman's challenger, former Navy SEAL Ed Galrain.
Think about where we are in history right now. And you're having the Secretary of War coming here to little old Kentucky to see you today. Is that something?
Hegseth made a stop earlier in the day at a military base in Kentucky, but said he was appearing with Gallrein on his personal time.
There's nothing funnier than, first of all, I mean, this has to be illegal, right? Like, what the fuck are we doing? That's number one. Number two, nothing funnier than having a bunch of dumb fucks in a Kentucky military base be like, yeah, I'm going to go vote for the guy who's going to send me to war for Israel. If you do that, but yes, the Hatch Act is nothing, okay? It doesn't exist anymore. Forget about it. But also, yeah, using tax dollars to literally using tax dollars to fly to Kentucky to tell a bunch of chuds in the goddamn military that they should vote for the guy that Israel hand-selected that will absolutely vote to send you to war and die for Israel. Fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic, dude. Yep, that's the real Americans right there, baby. Real Americans. Fucking hogs, man.
Thomas Massie has acted like his job is to stand apart from the movement that President Trump leads instead of strengthening it.
You don't send the Secretary of War to Kentucky during a war if you think your candidate is up 10 points. That's what you do when you realize your whole campaign is imploding.
This contest across a district that stretches from the suburbs of Louisville to northeastern parts of the state is now the most expensive House primary race in U.S. history, with more than $32 million spent, mostly by pro-Israel organizations and groups aligned with the president attacking Massie.
They tried to buy my vote for 14 years, and it was never for sale. Now they're trying to buy a seat here in Kentucky.
Kentucky Republicans today are also choosing their candidate to run to succeed the retiring Senator Mitch McConnell. There are also primaries today in Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, and Pennsylvania. Nate, if it's Tuesday, they're voting somewhere.
All right. Thomas Massie doesn't have a hope and a prayer to survive this primary. He does. It's because he has he does. I mean, it's a cult, but he actually does. That's all I'll say.
I did. Thank you.
It's true. Thomas Massie, a terrible congressman. Trump savages Kentucky Republican on primary day. For Donald Trump, this is part, trying to punish anyone that steps out of line. But it's also partially because he is a dog for Israel, okay? Donald Trump is a dog for Israel. He is a servile little puppy, okay? He will do anything and everything for his fucking masters, all right? This race is as expensive as it is, not just because Donald Trump is offended personally. I'm sure that plays a role as well, okay? But it's because when Israel says bark, Donald Trump yips, okay? He goes, yes, sir. Straight up.
In the primary with Thomas Massie and your endorsed candidate, do you think your candidate can beat him? And what are you seeing?
Yeah, Thomas Massie's a terrible congressman. He's been a terrible congressman from day one. Dealing with him is just horrible. I don't think he's a Republican. I think he's actually a Democrat. He's not a libertarian. Sometimes they say he's really a Democrat.
A Democrat.
He votes against us all the time. He voted against the border wall. He voted against men playing in women's sports. He voted against transgender for everybody, the mutilization of your children. He voted against, again, open borders. We have the best border we've ever had right now. Nobody's coming in. I mean, a report just came out. In the last 11 months, literally nobody has been allowed into our country illegally. We're taking people legally. They go through a process. But nobody's come into our country. But we've taken out hundreds of thousands of people. We had 11,888 murders. Many of these murders allowed into our country from prisons. They were in prisons.
Thomas Massie wants to do transgender for everybody. Thomas Massie wants to do Medicare for all. He's woke. He's a woke transgender himself. Listen, I need you to understand something, okay? You might think, wow, how dumb. Is this the kind of argument that works? And the answer to that scary question is yes. This is what works. Yeah. Thomas Massie wants illegals pouring over the borders, and he wants transgender for everybody. And that's exactly the type of shit that people actually eat. Okay, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Maybe he is. I think Trump is also trying to demonstrate that his coalition is behind him despite the Iran war and Epstein. They want to avoid any cracks in his iron grip over GOP voters because one crack could encourage more on top of the punishment and servility to Israel. Yes, that's why I'm saying this is a very impactful and very important race. You're absolutely correct. Thomas Massie wants everything computer and transgender everybody. Hasanabi, are numbers, guys, or for trans or against trans for all? Yes, I'm a numbers guy who is also for transgender everybody. Imagine the crash out if Massie pulls it off. Oh, God. He might just fucking have an aneurysm that turns him woke overnight.
These people killed more than 50% killed more than one person. This was gross malfeasance. This was on behalf of the Biden administration. I don't know Biden because I don't think he knew he was alive. But Kamala was the border czar. She never called, not one time, she never called the Border Patrol. She never called ICE. She never called law enforcement. She never went to the border. Think of it. I used to call every single day. And that's recently. Now I call less. We have nobody coming through. We had caravans coming through with tens of thousands of people pouring into our country. We had no idea who they were. We would have been, I'll tell you what, our country would have been destroyed. If they won this election, our country would have been, we have now the hottest country anywhere in the world. If they had won the election, our country would have been destroyed. Our country was a dead country 2 years ago, and now we have really the hottest country in the world. And this is the Ballroom, and it's going to be something incredible. You see the quality of it, and they go right, those columns go right into the roof. And on top of the roof, we're going to have the greatest drone empire that you've ever seen, and it's going to protect Washington. Thank you all very much.
Well, today is primary election day in Pennsylvania. Voters across the Commonwealth will decide who will be on the ballot for the general election in November. Polls open in less than 90 minutes, as you can see there, at 7 o'clock. Pennsylvania's 3rd congressional district race is the one to watch locally. In addition to being highly competitive, political analysts say it could also offer
Chris
a glimpse
Rapp, baby.
into where
Chris
the Democratic
Rapp.
Party
Rabmentum.
is headed.
Rabmentum.
CBS News Philadelphia reporter Waukesha Bailey continues our voting coverage from
Today we're going to find out. So now that we talked about the cult in the Republican Party, there's also absolutely a machine politics that has 100% has funneled votes into the most wishy-washy corporate Democrats with entrenched power at the Democratic Party's base as well. Okay, this is a very important race.